You are listening to 104.1 KQTH Tucson's News and Talk. I am the beautiful man. The sexy sidekick is close at hand. Charles in charge. Taking your calls at 751-1041. This, my friends, is your daily dose of madness.
This is madness.
Yes, it's a fun.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I am not on cocaine. It's food poisoning.
That's better.
Yes. Oh, let's get into this, my friends. On Friday, as we were the final segment of the show, we happened to be actually Ross was looking at the TV set. We saw our very own Sheriff Mark Napier on the Tucker Carlson show, and we bit part of that interview, and then opened up the phone lines, and the reaction was overwhelming. I heard from a lot of you over the weekend as well. We have Sheriff Napier on the line right now, but let's just play the opening segment of the Tucker Carlson show to kind of set this whole thing up.
So I've heard this line a bunch. You may have thought it up. This is a medieval solution to a modern problem, but it seems that it's really a medieval problem. People sweeping across your borders. Actually, the Romans dealt with it 2,000 years ago, and the solution then was a wall. And the Chinese built a wall, the English built Hadrian's Wall, the Israelis just built a wall, and they kind of work. Why wouldn't it work in Arizona?
Well, there are a good many reasons. One is cost, Tucker. I mean, for 10,000 years, mankind's been building walls around things. And one would think in 2017, with the robust array of technological options that we have, human resources, and other things, that we could come up with a better solution. I am absolutely a proponent of securing the border. My fear is that we're continuing this dialogue of a wall, which to many of us just doesn't seem credible. And in that discourse, we're losing the more serious discussions about how to better secure our border at a lower cost point and perhaps more effectively. And that's my real concern. The porous nature of our border is a national security problem. It's a public safety problem. It's a human rights problem. All manner of transnational crime threats are coming over the border.
Exactly.
Drug trafficking, human trafficking. And about 150 people a year die in the deserts of western Pima County, where I was at a community event last night. I may be one of the only sheriffs in the United States that has an industrial refrigerator outside of one of my district stations, the only purpose for which is the storing of human remains.
That's Sheriff Mark Napier was on with Tucker Carlson. We have him on the line right now. Sheriff Napier, welcome to 104.1 KQTH.
Well, thank you for having me on, James.
Okay, we're going to start out with the big old massive elephant in the room, your appearance on Tucker Carlson. Many people were upset by this, Sheriff Napier, and they're saying that this was your Dupnik mecca of hate and bigotry moment. How would you respond to that?
Well, James, you've known me for a long time, and nothing could be further from the truth. I am 100% all in on securing our border for all the reasons that I told Tucker. It is a national security problem. It's a public safety problem, and we have been enduring this problem with the border for many, many decades. My concern is that the border is over 1,900 linear miles. That's a long ways. It's further than from Tucson to our homes up in Iowa and Nebraska and Wisconsin, where you come from. We currently have about 700 miles of that with fencing or other barriers on it. 380 miles are just Arizona border. My concern is if we completely tie this idea of border security to the fact that we have what we're captioning as a traditional wall, that the wall will fail, and therefore the idea of border security again will be kicked down the road to another administration. So I think we need to put walls or barriers, and I'd rather call them barriers because double-layer fencing is probably what we're really talking about here. That's be more effective. Let's put that where it makes sense. We should be doing it already. We shouldn't be talking about it today, James. We should already be doing it.
Yeah, but on the show, on Tucker Carlson's show, and this is something that you've said in the past, not just on this show, because I don't think you said it on the show. He was quoting you from something earlier where you said that a wall is a medieval solution to a modern problem, and I think that just threw a lot of people off because, I mean, of course, President Trump campaigned on the wall. And as Tucker Carlson pointed out, Israel has a wall not just on its borders, but snaking through territories. You have Saudi Arabia that has a considerably long double fence protecting them from ISIS. I think what has people kind of thrown is the idea that they think that you're saying that a physical barrier does not need to be erected between on our Mexican border.
Well, James, there are places where it will be, if not impossible, exceptionally difficult to build what we would term as a wall or a physical barrier. And there are a lot of reasons for that. The topography, the fact that we have washes and rivers that flow across that you won't really be able to block. We did that with the wall some time ago, as you remember, and a big monsoon came through and knocked it over. So where walls make sense, we should be building them. They already should be there. And I hate to use the term wall because we're really talking about barriers here. We should already be doing that, and they should have been done a long time ago. But there are places where that's not going to make sense. The Tohono Indian Reservation, for example, there are places that are very mountainous and remote where it'll be very hard to build any physical barriers. So secure those areas with technology and human resources. But James, the fact that you build a wall or a barrier doesn't mean that it still doesn't have to be monitored, that you still don't have to have boots on the ground.
Of course.
Because we're continually having the barriers that we already have in place vandalized, damaged, knocked down, and stuff. So we're still going to have that problem. My overriding concern, and I'm so worried about this, is that we're not going to get this done. And we have to. James, we have both houses right now. We have the presidency. If we cannot fix border security now, I don't think we'll ever be able to do
I don't think
it.
there's many people that
really need to get this right.
I don't think there's people that would argue on that. And you're right when you say that the fence should already be built. I mean, the funding was there. It was already happening under the Bush administration. It was the Obama administration, even though he voted for the security, as did Hillary Clinton. It was under the Obama administration that the fence building was halted. And then we began to divert our resources away from border security. And even were proactively inviting illegals across our borders with the whole border surges and all that. Again, I think what people, and I'm glad you're clarifying this, Sheriff Napier, because what people, and I played that clip on purpose from the Tucker Carlson show because it sounds like you were arguing over the semantics of a wall. You're saying that we need to have double fencing or whatever that is, and then have the type of security that the terrain dictates. Is that true?
Right, James. And we've talked about it many times. You've sent me little text pages. I have been saying till I'm blue in the face that the term wall is an analogous term, and that will mean a lot of things at different points across the 1,900 plus miles of international border that we have. And we should be open to the fact that our president has not failed us if we do not see a 30-foot concrete wall across all 1,900 miles. That's what I'm afraid of, is that we're setting the president up for failure because there are places where that won't work. What I want our president to do more than anything on earth is to be successful in this. And let's get the border secure. We can do it much quicker than we ever imagined. We just have to have the political will and the sensible approach. The other thing that's really missing, James, is any talk about fortifying our ports of entry to make those more efficient, to make the interdiction efforts there better. And then I'll go a step further. There's no talk of funding to help border communities that have been dealing with this for decades at the cost of Pima County taxpayers that's been astronomical. We used to have 2 trauma centers. We now only have 1. We shoulder the expense in Pima County of the failure of the government to secure our border every day. And then let's talk about compensating ranchers and residents along the border who have trash on their border. I've talked to ranchers who are afraid to ride their own fence lines that have been on that property for hundreds of years. We need to be thinking about compensating those people as well as part of this expenditure of money to do what's right on the border. And there are places where we just don't have the infrastructure to take the materials to the border that would be required to make physical barriers.
Some people would argue, Sheriff Napier, that you're giving us all of the reasons and excuses of why what you just described can't be done. I mean, we're the nation that built the Hoover Dam, for God's sakes, the Golden State Bridge. I mean, those are, I'm just recently looking at historical pictures of that. It looked impossible. So when we hear that the United States of America is not able to secure its southern border by any means necessary, it's alarming, And quite honestly, it's inconceivable that we worked so hard to put somebody in place who was saying things that a lot of Americans believe in, especially a lot of Arizonans. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but the tone that was set on the Tucker Carlson show, would give people the impression that you don't back up that border security.
Oh, no. Let's separate border security from a wall. I back President Trump 100% on border security. Secure the border. All I'm saying is that there's a variety of ways to do that, and we need to look at a blended approach to doing that. And in places, we can erect physical barriers very rapidly because the infrastructure is already there and the topography is not a barrier. Where that doesn't work, we can use technology. We're still going to have boots on the ground to monitor a wall anyway, James. I mean, you can't just erect it and walk away. So we're still going to have boots on the ground, which we should have. But we also need to fortify our ports of entry because that's another vulnerability that we have to the drug trafficking, human trafficking problem is the ports of entry are not beefed up as we should. So the problem is we're tying synonymously the concept of a wall to border security. And what I want to do is just kind of break that a little bit and say, look, the president can keep his promise to us by securing the border through many different means. And in some places we'll look and there'll be a barrier. And we'll say, that's great, fantastic. In other places there'll be drones, there'll be seismic detectors, there'll be motion detectors, there'll be cameras, all manner of things to secure that portion of the border. In places there'll be boots on the ground, in places all three. But let's secure the border. So, no, I'm just differentiating the idea of exactly a wall with what I think we need to do for border security, and we've got to do this, and we've got to get it right.
Okay, that was the elephant in the room, Sheriff Napier. I got some other questions for you. Can I hang on to you for a bit?
You got me for one more segment, brother, and beat up on me.
We got Sheriff Mark Napier on the line. We have more questions for him when we come back. You're listening to 104.1 KQTH. We have Pima County Sheriff Mark Napier on the line. I want to squeeze in a couple more questions for him. Last week, former Chief Deputy Chris Radke was given a sweetheart deal, a sweetheart plea agreement, in my opinion. He got off with a slap on the wrist. You said the misuse of RICO funds, quote, was a result of the actions of a few at the top, and it was significant violation of the public trust that we should have resulted in a more serious sanction. You also said, Sheriff Napier, we need to ensure that we have addressed all bad acts and held all those who broke the law accountable. We hope that the FBI investigation did so. However, it seems that a criminal conspiracy may have been wider, and we need to be certain. So my question, sir, is how do we get the sheriff's office to do an internal investigation and reveal the results of that investigation?
Well, James, that's a great question. Thank you for that. And I'm very much opposed to the plea agreement that Radke got. I think it was grossly inappropriate. I will be talking to the FBI when later this week or the first part of next week to confer with them on what they can now disclose to me now that part has closed, that they've not been able to in the past, and then decide what way to go forward. I think more needs to be done, James, to make sure that the public trust is restored and to make sure that we have addressed all bad acts. And so I'll be taking a very thoughtful look at that. I don't think it's an internal investigation that we should be doing, being the Pima County Sheriff's Department. I think it should be done by an outside entity. And I'll be looking at what my options are in that regard later this week and next week.
Okay, I think we've talked about this in the past. You have on my show. I mean, we need insurances because that sweetheart agreement was so ridiculous that this still isn't going on. By every indication from Radke, this was kind of widespread. It was going on, but how do we know that it stopped? I guess is a real big question.
Well, you've known me for a while, James. I'm telling you, it has stopped. We do not expend RICO funds in any way since I took office that is not in accord with all the regulations and the federal laws. And I've had to say no to an awful lot of expenditures since I took office, which is kind of unfortunate because a lot of community groups that we were giving money to, RICO money to, did not follow the rules. They may have been well-intended, but they were nonetheless a violation of the RICO rules. And I've had to say no to a lot of community groups since I took office, which is very hard because they were well-intended and planning to do good things with that money that we can't give them because it's a violation of the rules. The other thing Barbara LaWall's office has done is really beefed up the paperwork and the accountability trail on these expenditures. So I'm confident in our processes now and moving forward. I always understood the rules. I've been in this business a long time. I understood what the rules were all along. It's just people had stopped following them. And I'm confident that from right now moving forward, we're following all the rules and doing the right things. But I've got to make sure that we've taken care of the past bad acts.
Sheriff Napier, one last question for you, and I thank you very much for joining us today, giving us some time. During the election cycle, former Sheriff Chris Nanos had deputies up on the northwest side to stop the vagrants from harassing people. And the vagrants have remained, but the deputies seem to be gone. I was up there the other day, one of my favorite butcher shops, and a vagrant had thrown a brick through the window and looted the place. I also know another business owner.
Dickman's, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
I know.
I got there, right when they're trying to open and the glass is all over the place, and they're telling me about the problems they've had with vagrants for a while. I was also with another business owner on the northwest side who is threatening to leave now. He said he's had enough. And it seems like both of them said, or not both of them, the businessmen on the further northwest side said that the vagrants have remained, but the deputies are gone. What's going on?
Well, that's the first that I've heard of that, James. I didn't get any calls from the neighbors up there. I will talk to the district commander up there and make sure that we're giving that some attention. But that's the first that I've heard that problem has resurfaced. As you know, I live up there, and as I drive through there, I don't see them. So I have not seen them where it would have piqued my attention, and I'll talk to the district commander about giving that some more attention because it's the right thing to do, and we promised the neighbors up there that we would take care of that problem.
We have, they're back and they're in the wash, and I'm being told that this is a different crowd altogether. This is a different breed, if you will, far more aggressive, more dangerous. I've even heard from from others that they've had to arm themselves and protect their property. And no one ever wants to pull a gun out for any reason whatsoever. But there's been situations where it's come close to that because of the vagrants that are living in the wash behind many of these businesses on the Northwest side. And a lot of the business owners are really questioning, they know where they are. As a matter of fact, they've taken me out and shown me where they are. How come the county doesn't know where they are? How come the county's not asking you, the sheriff's department, to do something about it?
All I can say is that it's not come to me, James. People need to call 911 when they have information like that. We'll send a deputy out. If they're dissatisfied with the response, send me an email or call me directly, and we'll get on that. But that's the first time that it's popped up on my radar screen. I know I had deputies out in the washes that were south and east of Ina and La Cañada about a week ago because I heard them out there, and I know that they were addressing the transient camp problem then. But I have not seen them as I've gone through there. And if people have those concerns, they need to let us know. Call 911, and if you're dissatisfied in any way, call me, call my office, or send me an email, and we'll work on it to fix it.
Sheriff Napier, I want to thank you for the time this afternoon. Like I said, when we saw you on last Friday, and we caught the interview and put it up, did you get a lot of feedback from that? Have you heard from a lot of people about your appearance on Tucker?
You're not going to believe this, James, but on my Facebook page and some of my personal social network stuff, it's been about 55-45 toward the positive. And I think the reason is because people listened to the whole interview and did not really double down on the idea that it has to be a wall, but listen to what I was saying is let's secure the border, but let's get it done. Let's do it through a variety of means that we can do quickly and effectively, and let's get this done. We have both houses. We have the presidency. There's no excuse for us not getting this done. And in a closing thought, I don't want anybody to feel that President Trump has failed us if we don't see a 30-foot concrete wall across 1,900 miles of our border. If we have fences and double-layer barriers where it makes sense and technology where that makes sense, and that border is finally secured, that's a victory. It's not a defeat for the president.
Sheriff,
we need to secure the border for human rights issues and public safety and transnational crime issues. We got to get it done, James.
Sheriff Napier, I appreciate you giving the circus time. We love to hear from you, especially when you're making national news.
I'll always make time for my friend, buddy.
Fantastic. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheriff Pima County Sheriff Mark Napier joining the circus. Again, I told you we would work to get him. And there he was. I'm going to open up the phone lines and get your reaction when we come back. 520-751-1041 is the telephone number. You can respond to anything we were talking about. We talked about Chief Deputy Chris Radke being given a sweetheart deal. Obviously, we talked about the elephant in the room, his appearance on Tucker Carlson. And we also brought up the vagrant issue on the Northwest side. And I haven't been covering that a whole lot lately, but I've been on that. And I'm going to make some telephone calls to make sure that you all on the Northwest side who are being harassed are dialing 911 and are dialing the sheriff. He said that if you don't get satisfaction, you have to let them know. Let's do that. Your calls are coming up next. You're listening to 104.1 KQTH, Tucson's News and Talk. The 11th annual Stella Artois Iron Chef Tucson returns to the Western La Paloma June 3rd. 16 of Tucson's best chefs are in contention, but only one top vote getters get to go to the title. Check them out and vote for your favorite now at IronChefTucson.com. Brought to you in part by Whole Foods, Desert Diamond Casino, Rio Nuevo, Great Productions, Arizona Restaurant Supply, Monarch, and Thermador. That's right. That's right. That's right. Tomorrow, I'll be filling in for Nick Reed on KSGF. I'll post it on the Facebook page if you guys want to follow that in the morning. Right now, full phone lines. We just had an interview with Pima County Sheriff Mark Napier. We talked about the wall. We talked about the Radke. We talked about vagrants. Roxanne, welcome to 104.1 KQTH.
Hey, James, me again. I called last week that I was kind of disappointed in Sheriff Napier's tone and tenor of his idea of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you for putting him on the phone today and talking about the interview. Not so happy yet.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, for you not letting him get loose with some of his answers, what I heard was, I didn't hear he was for that wall except for the semantics of it. And I think he needs to realize the people, your listeners, aren't stupid. And we understand we're not going to have, again, a 25-foot wall, all blocks through, along that border. We got that. We've heard that 16, 17 months while Trump was running. And then if you did any kind of research, everybody knows, like the sheriff says, we can't use that kind of barrier through the whole length of border. We got that, Sheriff. So some of this we're going to do this way. Others we have to do another way. All I heard was 10 ways that we can't get it done.
Right.
And I think you said it to him.
Right.
And so I felt, let me say again, I felt a little better about what he said. I don't think he's on the Trump train, though.
Well, he said he supported Trump 100% in border security.
Well,
but he said that, but you're telling me, Roxanne, you didn't feel that.
I heard him say it, okay, but then I also heard him say, well, we've got problems with the tribe down there. We've got problems with the folks that live down there on both sides.
Right.
We've got troubles with the environment and the habitat living down there, and on and on. And then you pointed out, but, we built the dam, and we can do this and that, but we can't put a damn wall up on the border.
Right.
We cannot secure our southern border. I don't believe that. I think it is a difficult task. But
we're Americans, damn it, Roxanne. We're Americans. What do you mean we can't do it? Well, why are we talking about what's so difficult? Let's just do it. Really?
That's kind of where I am, James. He doesn't have to do it to build it. He has to protect Pima County. I got all that.
Yeah.
But the listeners, I think your listeners are not going to like that he's still kind of backing off of that. He's entitled to his opinion, but I'm not as upset with him as I was on Friday.
Okay, so, all right. So he's here to repair the damage a little bit with you.
Yeah, he did.
All right.
But, you talk to Tucker Carlson, he's going to take you to task.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't even go there, but why did you even go on Tucker? Listen, unless you want. Oh my God!
Yeah.
But Roxanne, thank you very much for the call. I wouldn't go on Tucker. Alan, you're next on the James C. Harris Show. What did you think about the interview?
I think that people have a very short memory. Several years ago under Napolitano, my wife was hired as a security guard when they tried to build a virtual wall down around Sassabee. After about 2 months, they gave it up because it didn't work and it cost too much money.
So you agree with the sheriff?
Well, the virtual wall doesn't work. They tried to do that. I don't know what year it was, but Napolitano was governor then, and Boeing spent a couple $100 million trying to build a virtual wall that literally didn't work, so they stopped doing it after like 3-4 months and gave it up.
Do you think they should build a physical wall?
In most places, yes, because the virtual wall wasn't working. They tried it.
Right. Thank you very much for the call. Yeah, something about that medieval technology. And medieval technology is, I'm thinking about that great China wall. It's still there. Bruce, welcome to 104.1 KQTH. What did you think about Sheriff Napier's explanation of the wall?
I don't think anybody thinks that the wall is going to be an easy thing to build if we try to build a wall. But to piggyback off what you were just saying about the China wall, it's 3.8 thousand miles of actual wall. There's covering 5,000 miles of border, and they were able to do it with pre-industrial technology. And you're saying, and people are trying to say that we can't build a wall with what we have nowadays?
Yeah, okay, Bruce. And when you put it like that, I mean, and it goes, how many different terrains does that the Great China Wall cover?
Mountains, rivers, fields, everything.
What were the technological challenges for those people? How many thousand years ago did they build that thing?
I believe it was in the 1600s was the last major construction on it during the Ming Dynasty.
Okay, and so you're telling me that the Chinese can build that big ass wall. Took them a long time, but they did it. Uniform, controlled, and they manned that wall too. And that wall was a great barrier to invading armies. And you're telling me that we as Americans would put a man on the moon, built a Hoover Dam, built a Golden Gate Bridge. We can't build a wall.
And it's not a full wall the whole way. I mean, they do ditches. They have other things for, mountainous terrain. So they could figure out how to do it. We can't.
Right. Excellent point. And I wonder if the people complain in the Ming Dynasty, or we can't do it. No, we can't. This is too hard. They get their head cut off.
I think they were a little more worried about the Mongols coming over at that point in time.
They built it really fast, didn't they? Thank you very much for the call, Bruce. Let me go to Dr. Tom. Dr. Tom, welcome to 104.1 KQTH.
Yeah, it's surprising we now have Osiris Erie with making the scoops come over to downtown Tucson. They can't figure out how to get the base for that wall done. I found it fascinating that the former assistant sheriff got 1 year of probation for doing something very illegal, and Joe Arpaio loses his job because of another federal decision. I thought that was just really inappropriate on that part. But then again, I was told that the judge was federal; he wasn't county.
Yeah. That's a federal judge that did this too, or that gave Radke that little slap on the wrist out of Utah. Yes.
Yeah, it was kind of like an attaboy. It's like, that's a good training film. Thank you for the ideas.
Dr. Tom, on point. Thank you very much for the call. Let me go to Dan. Dan, you're next on the James C. Harris Show. Welcome. We're talking about the sheriff's comments, Sheriff Napier's comments.
Yes, sir, and I do appreciate your program locally here.
Thank you.
I think we're really forgetting the entirety of our Constitution and our federalist system. It is not up to our local and state governments to build that wall. What the sheriff should be saying, as well as our local politician, is hammering on McSally and Grijalva and our senators to protect our people and get these illegals out of our country, but they won't do it. All they do is hem and haw about it, but they're scared to death of the press and these Washington politicians. Why don't our local guys put the blame where it really belongs?
And where does the blame really belong?
Really belongs with our federal government is responsible for protecting our borders. And
well, you're right. Under the last administration, the federal government, I mean, you had the Jan Brewer talking about building their own border wall because the feds wouldn't do it. And then you had the Obama administration threatening to sue the state for doing their job. Now what's funny is we have a president that says, yeah, we're going to do it. And then we have congressmen from his own party say, well, I don't know if we can afford it. So, we got a lot of the terrain down here. Cost effective wise, there's better ways to go about doing it. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen, Dan.
Well, you're right. And it is because of gutless politicians that will not do their job and protect our citizens. And why don't we think of our people who are out here running these ranches with with illegals.
Yeah, another excellent question. I have ranchers coming on. Matter of fact, we're going to be back in Washington, D.C. in June talking about this very issue with ranchers and with other people who have been harmed by illegal aliens. Dan, thank you very much for the call. On the line, we have Will, the game warden. We'll come to him right out of the box. You're listening to 104.1 KQTH Tucson's News and Talk. You are listening to 104.1 KQTH Tucson's News and Talk. We have the official game warden of the James T. Harris Show on, Will. Will, welcome to 104.1 KQTH.
Hi, James. You got your feet up and your box of popcorn in your lap?
Come on with it.
All right. Arizona already built a barrier.
Oh.
To animals and humans.
Wait.
It's called the Central Arizona Project Canal. 250 miles of irrigation canal from Lake Havasu to Phoenix to Tucson.
Really?
Well, haven't you seen it when you cross over going and coming from Phoenix?
Yes, I have, but I didn't know what it was.
That's the Central Arizona Project Canal.
Okay.
Nothing gets past it, and we've already had practice.
So you're telling me that all of this stuff, all the excuses that we're given, all the problems that we're faced are just, they're just throwing up barriers because if we want to do it, we can.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. It started in the 70s, and we finished it with a terminal end down here at Tucson in 92. It's doable. We can do it. We can put a man on the moon, but you don't need to. In my opinion, humbly, all you got to do is audit the Social Security number system, database, and look for the duplicate hits. And where the individual with a recent authorization for a duplicate Social Security number, well, you go check them. And lo and behold, who might be in possession of that incorrect number? And then you make every business religiously use E-Verify. There you are. And you dry up the work. You dry up the opportunity to have a job up here in Arizona, and it goes away.
So you're saying we don't have to put up a big fat barrier wall as much as the technology to stop people from identity theft will drive the number, will either drive the illegals here deeper underground or they won't even come here in the first place. That's
correct. Look what happened with Trump coming in as the president.
Yeah. I mean, we did a story on that on Friday as well. The numbers are trickling.
They're all of a sudden it's down to trickle. And
Southwest Key is laying people off.
Yep. There you are. There's a perfect example. Arizona's built a moat. We could do it again if we got the money.
Well, you know what? I think we should do what you suggested and build a wall.
A moat and a wall with parapets.
Yes.
Boiling buckets of oil.
Yes. Alligators.
All of that. All of that.
Will, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you very much for the call. Let me get to Ingrid real quick. Ingrid, I got 30 seconds for you. Go.
Okay, well, you can still fly drugs over a wall with drones.
Yes.
And
you're right.
Human trafficking is the big problem.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. Oh, that was a real quick. Hey, Jeff, can you do it in 15 seconds? Whoa, I don't think you can. What was Jeff doing? What was that? Was he rocking out, or was that some type of like a grinder going on in the background? Is he grinding meat? I don't know. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon at 2. Thank you guys for joining me today. You're listening to 104.1 KQTH Tucson's News and Talk. Joe Pags is up next.
Well, that was a classic way to end the show. Meanwhile, we have climate activists are telling us to eat bugs. And when I mean climate activists, I mean Leonardo DiCaprio and, of course, Al Gore.
Well, climate activists, you mean, the Church of the Poison Mind.
Which they're both proud members of.
The high priests of the church. You're right.
That's right.
Gurus.
That's right.
Hey, Ross, you know what? A lot of people are complaining that they can't hear the music anymore. However...
blame Facebook for that.
However, we have not got... knock on wood, knock, knock. haven't got beat up yet by Facebook because at least they can't flag us on that. I hear they're trying to flag us on content, but they can't flag us on that. And it's a loss for you, especially when it comes to Throwback Thursday when you get to participate.
Oh. Get the audio stream.
Got to get the audio stream. You've got to download, because he's still playing music. It's just that we don't add it up until we're kind of like the last few beats of it because...
Y'all should have heard Friday's show.
Oh, it was popping. It was popping. You didn't put that up, that elevator music?
No. I'm saying it's in the podcast. All that's
that
in
was
the
a
show.
big fat. I thought you were putting that out there, the big fat, finger in the face to Facebook.
Well, maybe I should one of these
That
days.
was hilarious. Friday's show was hilarious. Ross found some stock music. It was absurd on every level.
It's like when you find those shows where they just show you stock nature footage and you can tell.
Right.
Or of course there's that one horror movie where half of it's stock nature footage. Hilarious.
That's what Friday's show was. A horror show with stock music. Anyway, we're so happy you're with us. So we ask for you to share, like our page. I think we're kind of got some smooth sailing going on here. We'll see. We'll see. We have folks that keeping an eye out for us, and we very much appreciate you as well. Tomorrow's show, I have no idea because I'm going to be filling in for Nick Reed. I got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Standard, be in the studio. His show kicked at 4 a.m., and I'll be finished at 7 a.m., and then come back and do my show in the afternoon. So if you want to do that, it's going to be at 104.1, same thing we have, 104.1 KSGF, and I will post that on the Facebook page shortly. But again, so that'll be a double hit of James T. tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us today, Ross.
Also would like to point out that Obama was urging GOP lawmakers to have some, quote, courage. Save Obamacare. Courage. Profiles in courage.
I tell you what, we got to find tomorrow? I want you to find the Cowardly Lion tomorrow with his courage speech.
There you go.
Courage.
Anyway, it was a great show. Always have fun here in the studio and with you guys. So come at us tomorrow.
Hey, got some new apparel up at JamesTHarris.com, JamesTHarris.com, and I got something else coming up next week. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later this week. All right, cool. Take care. Bye.
Holla.
Bye.